do? Cancel out the denominator. Now, I had you taking the time to go out to the side and write down anything that x couldn't be, because we know if it's a fraction, the denominator can't be 0. So what would make this denominator 0? 0. Okay. So I know x can't equal 0. Why do I need to know that? Exactly. When I get to the end, if my answer is 0, that will tell me no solution. If you don't write this out to the side, you'll be okay as long as you take the time to go back and check your answers. But if you're not checking and you haven't written that down, you will make some mistakes. So, if I want to cancel this denominator, what do we have to multiply by? We need a 2x to get rid of all of it. And what about for this one? 3. Okay, so everything gets multiplied by both the 2x and the 3. So I'm left with 3 times the x plus 4 equals 2x times the x minus 1. Distribute. So 3x plus 12 equals 2x squared minus 2x. It's a quadratic, so what do we have to do? We have to set it equal to 0. So if we subtract over the 3x, and subtract over the 12, then we need to try to factor. If it's just a 1x squared, then you can do shortcut. It is not, so I have to do the full box method here. So those multiply to a negative 24, and they need to add to a negative 5. What would that be? Negative 8, positive 3. So factor, we get 2x and 3x minus 4. Okay, we set each of those equal to 0. Yes, ma'am.
In the beginning, if I added the 2x, if I subtracted the 2x squared over, is that going to change my answer at the end?
When you do box method, you want it to be a positive, so you'll just have to take everything times a negative 1 before you do a box.
Okay.
So subtract our 3 divided by 2, we get a negative 3 over 2 and positive 4. Are both of those answers okay?
Yep.
Yes, we just couldn't get 0. If you weren't sure about your answers, how do you check them? Plug them in the original and see if they work. They should, as long as our work is correct, but on test or quiz, definitely worth taking that time and making sure you got the right answer. Alright, any questions there? We're just going to keep practicing these today. On this one, I recommend that before we do too much else, we need to figure out, we don't want to multiply by more than we have to. For instance, I don't want to multiply by an x minus 2 and x and this whole thing if I don't have to.
Can I use make a guess? Okay, so if we just do like the 2x, are we allowed to just cancel out one of x and leave one x left over?
If they are multiplied, you can cancel out just a portion. If they're added and subtracted, you can't. So to get to that point, let's factor this. So it's written as things multiplied together, and that way we can cancel out. Okay. How could I factor x squared minus 2x? Take all of that. and I'm left with x minus 2. Is that helpful? Yeah, because now for the first fraction, what do we have to multiply by? Remember, you do it to every single term. So that would drop out, and this piece would drop out. What else are we going to have to multiply by? Just a plain x. And that drops out, and this drops out, so we don't have to multiply by anything else. Let's go ahead and write down what can x not equal in this problem. 2. X minus 2, we can't have a positive 2. What's the other thing we can't have? 0. Because of the 1 over x.
Then why in the last equation did we just put this cannot equal 0 and we didn't put like a negative 3 for the other one?
Because it was just a 3, there was no variable with it.
If it had something else.
If it had a variable, then you would have. Okay, so now let's simplify this. We have 3x plus 2 times an x. I know you might go ahead and multiply these out. I'm just writing everything so you can see exactly where it's coming from, but you don't necessarily have to show this many steps. Alright, so if I distribute this, we get 3x squared plus 2x plus x minus 2 equals negative 2. Then what will we do? Set equal to 0 and combine our like terms. So 2x and 1x would be a 3x. To move this over, I would add 2, and what happens? Cancel out. At this point then, what do we do? Take out. And that leaves us with? Yeah.
Why did we just forget that 1x after we canceled out? Oh yeah, okay, never mind. I don't know what I'm saying.
Okay. Set each of those equal to 0. What makes 3x equal 0? 0, right? What makes x plus 1 equal 0? X is a 0 or a negative 1. Can't be 0.
So the whole thing be no solution?
No, since I have 2 answers, we just knock off the 0 and we keep the negative 1. Good question. If my only answer were 0, then it would become no solution. Questions there? Take a second and see if you can try this. Start by factor. How'd you break that x squared minus 1? Good. All right, so right now, what can x not be? All right. So first one, to get rid of x minus 1, we take everything times that. Those cancel, and these cancel. Second one, we need to get rid of x plus 1. So we multiply by that. Those drop out. Now we have everything off our denominator, so now we're ready to simplify. So the first term, I'm left with the negative 4x times the x plus 1. Second one, we have 4 times the x minus 1. And last, we just have negative 8. So if you simplify, you get negative 4x squared minus 4x plus 4x minus 4 equals negative 8. My 4x's drop, if I add, well, either way we want to do it. If I add over my -4, I get a -4. Divide by -4 and we get x squared equals 1. Square root plus and minus, and you get positive and -1. What's wrong with that? Those are the two things we said it could not equal, so this one had no solution.
So you want us to bring the 4 over that time?
You could do it either way. If
No
you,
matter what.
yeah, if you brought everything over to this side, then you could pull out a -4. Then difference of squares. And so you get the same things. So there were different ways you could have solved this. Did that answer your question? But 4. If it were 4x, then we had that 0. Other questions? Let's do one more. Have to end with a nice pretty one, right? Okay. We need to start by factoring.
I have a question.
Yes.
If there was something that, are you allowed to multiply by something that two numbers can go into so that
Yeah.
we cancel them out, but then you still have some left over?
Yes.
Okay.
So like if I had, 4 on one and a 3 on another, you take the thing times 12.
Okay.
So if we do box method here, what multiplies positive 6 and adds to -5? -2, -3. How would you break down x squared minus 4? Okay, this one. What do you notice about this denominator, first of all? Okay, if I pulled out that 2, then could you do box method with what's remaining? Okay, so if we pull out the 2, it just stays on the bottom. What would multiply to -6 and add to -1? Okay. So we're going to have to multiply by quite a few things. For the first fraction, what do we have to multiply by? Let's go ahead and write down, what can x not equal on this?
2, 3, 2.
This one can't have a 2 or 3. -2 or 2. 3 and 8. So we got it. Okay. If I multiply everything by x minus 2, x minus 3. Those drop. X minus 2's drop here. The x minus 3's drop there. So that helped a lot. The first fraction is good. Second one, what do we still have to multiply by? X plus 2. Okay, so you can't just take it to one thing, you have to multiply by all of them. So now that drops. Third fraction, what do we still have to get rid of? So I need to take everything times just a 2. Okay, so neatness is kind of important here. We've got a lot of stuff. The first one, 2x times 2 would be a 4x. times my x plus 2 still. Next we have 1 times 2 would be 2 times my x minus 3. The last one we have the x plus 3 times the x minus 2. So multiply all of this out. We get 4x squared plus 8x plus 2x minus 6 equals, if we FOIL here, x squared minus 2x and plus 3x would just be plus x minus 6. Quadratic, we have to set this equal to 0. I subtract over my x squared, that's a 3x squared. This is a 10x minus x will give me a 9x. If I add my 6, what happens? Those cancel. So then what would we do? So greatest common factors are 3x. And that leaves us with x plus 3. Set each to 0. What makes 3x equal 0? 0. What makes x plus 3 equal 0? Negative 3. Are both of those answers okay? Remember, we couldn't have a positive 3, but a negative 3 is okay. So this time we got 2 answers. Questions for me? I want to give you some time to work on homework and make sure we're doing okay with it. There is a math Excel assignment that is open, and you've got some time now to start that.